It was just past 7 a.m. on a Thursday when I heard the knock. 3 sharp raps, spaced too perfectly to be accidental, the kind of knock that makes something deep inside you tense up, like a survival instinct you forgot you had. You know what I mean? I was still in my old Marine Corps sweatshirt, sleeves fraying, emblem faded from too many washes, standing in my kitchen with a cup of black coffee, enjoying that rare early silence before the neighborhood woke up and all the little rituals and dramas of suburban life began. But that knock broke the spell, and I knew right away it wasn't the neighbor's kids selling chocolate bars, it wasn't the mailman. It was a threat dressed up as routine. I went to the door and peeked through the peephole. There was a man standing there, arms crossed, trying hard to look like he owned the place, black tactical vest with HOA enforcement stitched across the chest in bold white letters, the kind of gear you can buy online if you want to play pretend cop. He wasn't smiling, and something in his posture told me this was going to get ugly fast. I opened the door just a crack. "Can I help you?" I kept my tone flat. No fear, just curiosity. He squared up like he was at attention. "Mr. William R. Carter?" "That's me. You've been found in violation of several community standards. You are hereby notified to vacate the property within 48 hours. He handed me a folded notice with both hands, like he was giving me a summons from the king himself. I didn't take it, just stared at him. "Excuse me," I said. "Vacate." He got louder, more rehearsed. Per Article 7 of the Community Compliance Code, you've accumulated multiple infractions: unauthorized fence maintenance, unregistered outbuilding, failure to comply with landscaping standards. I almost laughed right then. The fence I'd fixed myself after a windstorm, the old barn that predated the HOA by decades, my wild lawn that just happened to be native plants, none of it ever raised an eyebrow until now. I opened the door wider, stepped onto the porch. "Where's your badge?" I asked, staring him down. He blinked, caught off guard. "I don't need a badge, sir. I'm acting under the authority of the Evergreen Hills Homeowners Association." The absurdity of it all just made me shake my head. Here was a guy, probably younger than me, trying to bluff his way through what he hoped would be an easy eviction. "You should know," I told him. "I'm pretty familiar with the law. In fact, I enforce it." He scowled. "What are you, some kind of retired cop?" "Something like that," I replied, finally taking the notice, more out of curiosity than fear. It looked official at first glance, bold headers, HOA logos, but up close it was a mess, typos, a typed signature, my last name even spelled wrong. "You have 48 hours to vacate," he repeated. "If you refuse, we'll proceed with forcible removal under community authority." I let that hang for a moment, then folded the notice and looked him straight in the eye. "You've made your point. Now get off my property." He hesitated, then turned and walked away, climbing into a black SUV, no government plates, just a cheap magnetic HOA decal slapped on the side. Back inside, I tossed my cold coffee and sat at the table, scanning the notice. It was all legalese with no teeth, no court seal, no police endorsement, just scare tactics. The kind that might work on people who didn't know better. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just about me. It was about every neighbor who might get a visit from a guy like that and feel powerless. I walked to my office, opened an old footlocker, and pulled out my badge, County Judge, Precinct 4. I hadn't worn it publicly since stepping back from the bench, but it was still there, just as much mine as ever. I needed information more than confrontation. Who was this guy? Who told him he could act like the law? That evening, I took my usual walk through Evergreen Hills, quiet nods, polite waves, and noticed something I'd missed before: yellow citation slips posted on 4 mailboxes along Oak Ridge Drive, 2 more on Juniper Lane, all issued in the past week. At one house, Mark and Sarah stood reading a document in the driveway. "Excuse me," I called. "Did someone come by today?" Mark nodded. "HOA guy said we need to remove our garden beds or face a fine." "Did he look like he was shopping at an army surplus store?" Sarah laughed nervously. "Yeah, actually. Just document everything," I told them. "Photos, paperwork, keep it all." They nodded, still looking confused, but I moved on. That night, I started building a timeline: names, dates, citations, the way I used to prep cases. By midnight, I had 3 full pages and a plan. Next morning, I woke before dawn, unrest, replaying the guy's threats in my head. I dressed for battle, collared shirt, jeans without paint stains, wanted to look casual but not vulnerable. I set up a motion camera on the porch, tucked a body cam into my shirt pocket. Sure enough, 7:42 a.m., he was back. Same man, same vest, same bad attitude. He knocked in that same rhythm, a little performance for the hidden camera. I waited, then opened the door. "Mr. Carter," he started, but I just let the silence stretch. People like him rush to fill the quiet. "You're in violation of Compliance Order 11C," he said. "That's grounds for HOA-sponsored removal." "Which section of the charter was revised and when?" I asked. He flinched. He hadn't expected pushback, much less from someone quoting bylaws. "You don't know who I am, do you?" I said. He rattled off my list of infractions, all printed out for him, of course. "I'm a county judge," I told him. "I've signed off on more real evictions than you can imagine. If you want to hawk legality, you're at the wrong house in the wrong costume." He stiffened but tried to stand his ground. "We'll see what the board says about this," he huffed, stomping back to his car. That was a mistake. He just implied force, and in a legal context, that's a trigger word. I sat down and typed up an incident memo for the sheriff's department, attached camera footage, digital copies of his fake notice. I didn't bother listing my credentials. The evidence spoke for itself. I forwarded it to my friend, District Attorney Antonio Moreno. Subject line: HOA impersonation and threat. That evening, I visited the community bulletin board and found a flyer, "Know Your Enforcement Officer." There was Brian Talbot, our self-appointed enforcer, smiling in his Halloween cop gear. "Certified HOA liaison," it claimed. There's no such thing. I took a photo, then peeled it off the board. I ran his name, minor charges, nothing that would bar him from cosplay law enforcement. It made me wonder how many people he'd scared before me. That night, I passed Mrs. Evelyn Harper standing on her porch, red notice in hand, hands shaking. "Ma'am, may I see that?" I asked. She handed it over, worried. "Am I in trouble?" "Not at all," I said. "You might just help someone else." I photographed the paper, gave it back with a smile, and walked home feeling the weight of what was happening. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was about the whole community. The next days passed with a hum of tension, like before a storm. Evergreen Hills wasn't used to this kind of disruption. People started looking over their shoulders, citations piling up, and a man in a vest walking around like the sheriff of Mayberry. Saturday, 9 a.m., Brian returned, this time with 2 backup deputies, both in matching vests. I recorded as they fanned out. Brian made a beeline for my door. "You failed to comply, Mr. Carter. We're escalating." Escalating. I repeated. "Property lockout and enforced removal if necessary," he threatened. I stepped outside. Phone recording. "You've threatened force. That's illegal. You're impersonating law enforcement, issuing fake documents, using coercion, under the delusion that an HOA can override the U.S. Constitution. I've sent everything to the authorities. You're the defendant in a courtroom you don't even understand." He sputtered. "You think being a lawyer makes you special?" I stepped closer. "I'm not your lawyer. I'm your judge." He stepped back, face white, and finally slunk away. That afternoon, I collected every citation I could find, building a dossier. I filed a formal complaint, Texas Penal Code, impersonating a public servant, a felony. Sent it to the sheriff and the DA. By Monday, a patrol car rolled through Evergreen Hills, slow and obvious. The message was clear. The real law was watching now, not long after. The HOA president herself, Karen Lafferty, appeared on my porch, all pearls and pastel, sugar in her voice but ice in her eyes. "We've had misunderstandings," she began. "If you pursue legal action, it will divide the community." "No, Brian did that. I'm cleaning it up." She tried to appeal to my sense of discretion, but I told her straight, "I understand justice." She left, rattled. I dug through HOA records, found Brian's appointment had never been authorized, his payments hidden as consulting fees, all signed by Karen, whose term had quietly expired. I built a case for her removal, gathered signatures, and let the neighborhood see the truth. When the meeting came, I stood and laid out the evidence. Fraudulent enforcement, misused funds, threats, all documented. The board crumbled, residents demanded accountability, and the community found its voice. Brian was arrested, Karen resigned. The old guard swept out in a wave of overdue honesty. In the days after, Evergreen Hills felt different. Kids played outside without fear, neighbors waved, people talked about gardens and life, not fines and threats. The HOA rebuilt itself, transparent, fair, neighbor-led. Justice wasn't loud or dramatic. It was in the quiet, the return of trust, the freedom to breathe easy on your own porch, the laughter of children not worrying who might knock next. I never set out to be the hero, just Samio.